Hey guys, my name is Betterwork Studios, and today we are going to be completing a project that has been 2 whole years in the making with our final part of Defensor. It's honestly pretty crazy to me to think that it has been that long since I started working on the Defensor project. And I'm just really proud to be able to show you guys the final project after all this time. We are going to start with taking a brief look at each character and talking shortly about them. Then we will move on to their combined forms. Starting from the ground up with the very first character to appear on this channel, here we have Streetwise. I sort of imagine Streetwise as the Protectobot equivalent to Prowl, a very level-headed bot who's here to serve and protect. Getting him into his combined mode is almost the same as getting him into his vehicle mode, so you're going to want to follow the very same steps. Flipping the doors out, getting his head ready and in position, then fold up the chest, get the arms ready to plug in their normal spots, but don't plug them in quite yet. We have to get the combiner connection out, so fold up this panel on the hood, rotate this chunk around, then this panel will rotate and plug into the back here, locking in that entire assembly and solidifying the combined mode. The arms then fall into their usual positions. The legs is where things start to get more unique. They're going to tab together like usual, then fold up and tab into the back of the arms. Then simply position the doors whichever way you prefer. I prefer down like this, so it gives the legs a more cohesive shape. And then we're going to connect the combined foot. One thing I did aim to accomplish when creating Defensor was trying to make it so that he did not have to parts form at all. Unfortunately, the feet are just such a large piece that they could not fit into the vehicle modes of the legs, especially Groove, considering he has a motorcycle. Next up is Rook, the brute of the pack. He does not have much character because he's a very new addition to the team, only ever appearing in Combiner Wars and I think maybe the IDW comics, although I haven't read them. Getting him ready for combined mode is simple enough. If you thought Streetwise was close to his vehicle mode, this guy is almost identical to his vehicle mode when you go for combined mode, with one slight change. Tab in the legs, the arms, tab into place as well, and make sure to fold out this panel here. Then open up the chest, and this can all rotate forward. Make sure to rotate the head sideways. Play with these panels however you like. It doesn't matter what position they're in. Then this panel in here will lock in the combined mode attachment. And if you feel like spicing it up a little, you can take this piece, move it up, and it tabs into place nicely. Then simply connect the combiner foot, and you have the next leg of Defensor. Third up is Groove. He is the smallest of the Protectobots and tends to do a lot of mass shifting, so it's easy to see why he was replaced as the leg, although I thought it'd be nice to include him in the full team because he is a member of the original team. He can still form a leg for the combined mode, although it is not nearly as stable as Rook, just because of how small I had to make this guy for his motorbike mode. His combined mode is probably the most unique out of all of the Protectobot legs, because I had to do so much with such a small amount of size. First, flip up the combiner port, making sure the head is pushed all the way down, and then we can get to work on the legs. The legs are extremely unstable, especially for a combiner limb, but sacrifices had to be made for the sake of scale. You basically just get his hip all the way back and align his thighs and calves as if he's sitting, and these wheels fill the gap in between, providing some extra support. Then these panels just fit up underneath the front of the motorbike mode, and his arms fall to his side to sort of fill out the silhouette. And as you can see, he is a lot smaller than any of the other bots, and he combines onto the combiner foot just like Rook. He fits on simply just like that and acts as a alternative leg for Defensor. Getting on to the arms next, here we have First Aid, the team's medic and ambulance. He forms one of the arms for Defensor and was actually the first one I designed for the team. And that goes to show just by how unrefined he is compared to the rest. Getting him all ready for combination is simple enough. And you're going to start at the legs, folding these two panels out to the side and revealing the hand. And then you connect the two legs and hand to form the forearm. I was really happy that I was able to incorporate the hand into the actual forearm of the combiner rather than having it being a parts formed piece similar to the legs. Next, we're going to deal with the arms, which is almost identical to what you do. On second thought, some of these pieces are going to need replacing. Wow. Luckily, I had a replacement for that piece on hand. I just stole it off a mock I was working on. But the arms will become situated the same way they are in vehicle mode. And then you're going to want to flip out this panel, rotate the head around, and make it face upwards. Get this out of the way, and rotate the face backwards, which will reveal the combiner port in the torso. Then this new panel will fold into place, providing support for the shoulder, and then the kibble can sit like that. And there you have the first arm of Defensor. Here we have Blades, the helicopter of the group. I decided to give him a sniper rifle, which I don't have here with me now. But something I have learned about the character is that he actually prefers fighting with his fists, but often doesn't get to because he's stuck doing air support. Getting him into his limb mode is probably the most complex out of all of Defensor, purely just because he is a very complex figure. And personally, that makes him my favorite out of the team. One thing I forgot to mention is that these limbs do not have Scramble City functionality. The original G1 Defensor toy was able to swap their limbs around, where arms could become legs and legs could become arms. Unfortunately, I was not able to incorporate that just due to the sheer complexity of trying to get their original limbs I felt that my time would not be spent well trying to make every limb compatible with every configuration. So specializing them for their original limbs was just the safest option for me. The head will sort of look down and flip back into the torso, revealing the combiner port. The hand comes together down here with the legs to create the forearm. I'm going to set this to the side just for simplicity and for visibility. The panels here on the arms are pretty difficult to arrange properly, but you're just going to want to fold them down, flip in the hand, and peg it into place. Same thing on the other side. Then, once you've got that done, the propeller blades will hang down. You can angle this however you want. You can keep it more continuous with the vehicle mode, or you can flip it out for cartoon accuracy, whichever one you prefer. Same thing with the blades. You can position them however you want, but I choose cartoon accuracy for my rendition. And there you have the second arm of Defensor. Finishing up with the leader and most complex of the team, here we have Hotspot. This guy is very complicated getting him from robot mode or even vehicle mode to combined mode just because of how much I needed to incorporate into one guy. He is the root of this combiner. I have had, I'd say, 3 renditions of this guy created, and all were scrapped due to lack of stability, mostly in the shoulders and hips. Getting him ready for combined mode, we're going to start with the hips. Now, I'm going to remove the ladder for now, just for stability reasons, and so that we can focus on the hips without getting the ladder in the way of it. First, you're going to want to fold and rotate out the thighs, making sure to keep the arms out of the way. And then this panel will fold in and click into place, helping secure that entire section. Then rotate the legs around, fold them up, and position them like so. Same thing happens on the other side. And you'll notice on the bottom of the foot, we have both of the combiner connections. Then the torso will rotate around with some difficulty. And there you have the lower half of the combine mode. Reattaching the crane so we can work with it, we're going to untab everything that is holding the shoulder assembly together and start working on the shoulders. Bring these chunks of the torso upwards and slide these in to place. Then rotate out these side pieces. The robot mode head will fold back, rotate, and enter the torso. And this panel will move back up. Keeping the robot mode arms to the side, we are going to rotate this entire assembly, and these clips on the back of the crane will peg into these bars on the backs of the robot mode legs, which are now the hips. That should all fit securely into place. And we're going to position any excess pieces in proper places so that they are out of the way. Next, the crane will flip over top, similar to his Combinables rendition. Make sure to keep the robot mode arms as far out of the way as possible. Now, we're going to deal with the robot mode arms, which are going to position themselves in ways similar to vehicle mode. With these smokestack parts, I probably should have done this step earlier, but they are supposed to flip around backwards so that you can bring up this front panel. The elbow will fit upwards and everything will tuck semi-neatly into the torso. And then do the same exact thing on the other side with the other arm. And we can start working on the front panel of the torso, which is mainly made out of the bucket. It folds down, clips in right there. These two panels will fold up to the side and help fill it out. And then the main chest panels fold out as well. And you can finish up by raising these little ear parts. And there you have the completed torso of Defensor. Now, let's get on to combination. We are going to start by connecting the legs. Connecting the legs is probably the simplest of all the connections that have to be made. Simply rotate out the combiner pegs and they will slot into place like so. Now, combining the arms is where things start to get very difficult because each of these arms are very heavy, and if I were to put one on at a time, it would throw off the weight balance. Starting with Blades, because his upper arm is the lightest, it pegs in. Then we're going to put on First Aid's upper arm as well. Like so. The head keeps popping off. Finish this side with the lighter forearm. Again, this is all about keeping the weight balance. We can put First Aid into place. And here we have the full combined form of Defensor. In their combined form, I just have to say this thing is absolutely impressive and just beautiful to look at. It's crazy to think that over 2 years worth of work has gone into perfecting this. It has gone under so many different modifications to enhance proportions, stability, and just overall appearance. The immense size makes it almost impossible to fit him into any pose other than this, just because of how unstable a lot of the joints are. Going over some specific details, I really like the head sculpt. I think I did an amazing job sort of with the exaggerated chin and the big eyes. It really gives him like a stern yet defensive appearance. I also made sure he had a broad and very square chest. In one of my earlier renditions, he was very thin and lanky and had proportions more accurate to that of Superion rather than Defensor. So when I redid the torso for, I think, the 4th time, I changed up a lot of the proportions and polished up the sculpt. I really like the way the thighs look with the big black stripe running down and the wheels on the inside. A lot of the details on this guy just ended up wherever, and the way these turned out looked absolutely amazing to me. Moving down to the feet, you can see Rook looks absolutely amazing as a shin, and streetwise not so much, but both of them paired together are a really nice balance. I spent a lot of time making sure that each shin was the same length, because if one was longer than the other, that would have led to stability issues. Moving back up to the shoulder here, you can see my personal favorite limb of them all, that being Blades, and I really like how cohesive his appearance is. The kibble on the side of the arms serves to help make it look more buff and balances out the massive forearm of First Aid. Up here we have the more messy shoulder of First Aid, which goes to show how unprepared I was going into creating such a massive combiner. Moving on and taking a look at the back, I really like how the ladder goes right down the spine of this figure. It makes him look a lot more stable and secure. I sort of copied the ladder neck design from the Combiner Wars rendition of Hotspot, and I feel like it fits in this aspect. Going down, you can see the back is a lot more cluttered up than other places of the figure. The back of Streetwise notably has a whole bunch of car sitting off of it. You can see the backs of the forearms are also nicely covered up, and the backs of the shoulders mirror that of the front. Although you can see a significant gap in the back of this forearm, that's because I had to hollow it out a lot because of the weight of the bricks. It ended up causing the elbow rotation to fall off all the time. Taking a look at articulation is gonna be pretty difficult just because of the size of this thing. So I have decided to bring in a stand to help hold the weight. Now we can properly take a look at articulation. Starting with the shoulder, both of them act the same with a butterfly joint and 360-degree rotations. The elbows can also rotate and are double jointed using the same joints as the fists. He has individually movable fingers and thumb. His head is unfortunately unable to do anything, neither can his waist. His hips, however, can move forward and backwards freely. They can go in and out and can rotate right there. There's also a second rotation at the knee, and it can bend slightly less on the Streetwise leg than the Rook leg, purely because of how the Rook leg is set up. The ankles do have a rotation to them and a pivot, and that is about all when it comes to articulation. And this is probably the best pose you'll ever be able to do with him. And with a little bit of effort and a slight sacrifice, I was able to get Groove situated as a foot. And here is the original Defensor team. And just in case anyone needed it, proof that he can stand without the stand on Groove, which I had never tested before filming this. Overall, Defensor is a very difficult figure to handle just because of how massive he is and how loose the joints are compared to what they're supposed to carry. So, to finish off this rather grand video, I would just like to say it has been an absolutely amazing journey putting together this behemoth of a combiner and showing it off to everybody. I do not plan on making a standard instructions video on this guy, just in case you're wondering in the comments section, because he is so massive and that I doubt that anybody has all the parts that I do to create this guy. I will not be making instructions for him at all. I know that may be disappointing, but I simply do not have the time for that. That was just his leg leaving the episode, and I guess so will I be leaving this episode. Thank you all for watching. This thing is crumbling. And have an amazing rest of whatever's going on.